Live from the KFDM studios, you're watching KFDM 6 News tonight at 10.
Good evening, Southeast Texas. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Tiffany Murphy. Disturbing developments tonight about virtual learning in Texas. The first few weeks of the fall semester show plummeting grades and low attendance among students participating in remote instruction all throughout the state. But with COVID cases climbing, returning their children to in-person classes is not an option for a lot of parents. KFDM's Angel San Juan joins us tonight in the studio with the harsh reality of virtual learning.
More than 3 million of the state's 5.5 million public school students are learning from home because of COVID, and distance learning is simply not working out for so many of them. Statewide, students are struggling academically, and that's bringing down their self-esteem, becoming yet another casualty of the COVID pandemic. A dining room is now 12-year-old Kaylee Boute's classroom. Because of COVID, the Beaumont 7th grader is now having school at home. It's an option Kaylee's mother, LaDonna Sherwood, does not like, but she says she did not have much of a choice.
You send them to school, you risk them getting sick. If you keep them home, you risk them failing school.
And that fear of failure with virtual learning is very real for Kaylee. It's a predicament the honor student says she's facing for the first time.
I have been passing my whole life. I never made below a 85 ever in my life. And this is like the first time that I made like a 70 something. So you mean to tell me that I've been smart my whole life, and then as soon as virtual school come on, I'm just, now I'm magically not smart anymore.
Sherwood says virtual learning is placing a huge burden on her two children, Kaylee and her younger brother, Prince.
It's just been difficult. Not having that person to person. You got this technology that in the beginning was failing. Okay, you had days where the system wasn't working, or they would just kick you out or turn off, or Kaylee emailed the teacher last week and some assignment or video didn't upload to the thing.
Sherwood says her kids are overwhelmed with assignments and many times cannot get the immediate feedback or guidance to correctly do the work, which hurts their grades.
Ask the teachers for help. They don't answer emails, so how were we getting help? I feel like they expect us to just know.
And I think that the teachers are struggling as well with how can they reach out to the students, how can they engage the students, how can they make them better and improve their engagement and overall success. A lot of kids are going to be left behind.
The first round of report cards from the new school year shows just that. Virtual learning is not making the grade. Statewide, more students than last year are failing at least one class.
There's a big difference between a kid with their nose in a phone for hours at a time going from Instagram to Snapchat to Twitter to the internet versus a kid sitting down and focusing on a teacher in a Zoom meeting for an hour at a time and then getting a 5-minute break and going right back and doing it again. When you think about it that way, all of a sudden it's like, it's not such a surprise that kids aren't doing well. That takes an incredible amount of self-discipline.
Dr. Danny Levette is the executive director of the Region 5 Education Service Center, which includes 32 districts in Southeast Texas. He says there's not a superintendent in the state who does not want students to return to in-person instruction as quickly as possible. And even though you would think virtual instruction would offer a captive audience, that's not proven to be the case.
A lot of them just aren't showing up. Even though every school I know of, the requirement for remote learning is that you have your camera on all the time, that doesn't mean a kid's going to do it. Teachers report having kids throwing avatars up there or just going off camera. Some kids never log in at all.
Sherwood says she discovered her son was submitting assignments before completing them.
You're going to be saying, Mama, this is wrong.
For parents, playing the role of at-home teacher is daunting.
With this new math, I'm from the carry the one generation. I can't even keep up, and while I have a master's degree, some parents just can't explain things, or they're working 2 jobs like myself to keep everything afloat. They don't have the time when they get off from work or the energy or some of us just the know-how to keep up with the workload that these kids have.
And Sherwood says virtual learning is not only hurting her children academically, but also emotionally.
The kids are stressed. They're overwhelmed. They're exhausted. And it's messing with their confidence. It's messing with their confidence on top of COVID, on top of the social, economic, and mental stress and disaster that COVID has created. Now you got kids that were all of a sudden good students who are failing.
But Dr. Levette says it will likely take a successful vaccine before normalcy starts returning to the school system so that kids can safely go back without fear of a spike in the pandemic.
I don't think things can get significantly better until we get more kids back in school. Will our teachers and our kids continue to get better a little bit at a time with remote instruction? Yes, but I think the data shows us there's such a gap that that's not going to happen in a month or 2 months or maybe even a semester.
Getting the students to make up the ground they've lost will take even longer.
I think if we can just get the kids back, I think with things like after school tutorials, before school, I think with the things we've learned through technology that we can use on top of classroom instruction, not in lieu of classroom instruction, I think we could get them back, but I think it'll take a year or two at the very least. If we lose a complete semester, I would say it'll take a year to 2 years to get everybody back to where they should be.
And a sad footnote to this report, districts across Texas have reported losing track of thousands of students, including some of their most vulnerable, who have not logged on to distance learning classes in weeks. Tiffany?
Oh, Angel, what a story. What a difficult time we're in right now in 2020.